A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers, Chandigarh edition. Now, on the front page, we have an article on the National Research Foundation. So, the National Research Foundation gets center nod, rupees 50,000 crore over 5 years for R&D. Fine. So, the government is basically introducing a bill known as the NRF bill. So we have it over here. So there is an NRF bill, and the idea is to create this institutional national research foundation, which will be an apex body, or the top body for providing funding for research activities, research and development. So that is the idea. So NRF bill has now been formulated. The Minister for Science and Technology is saying, Dr. Jitendra Singh. So we think that since this minister is saying, so NRF will be housed in Department of Science and Technology. So it's mentioned over here. And Department of Science and Technology comes under Ministry of Science and Technology. So it will provide funding for research and development. And we just read that rupees 50,000 crore is sanctioned. So 50,000 crore for a period of 5 years, starting from 2023 to 2028. So this is the National Research Foundation. This will be an apex body. This will be an umbrella body. All the other agencies that were there responsible for funding the research and development, they will now be housed under this National Research Foundation. In fact, there is an agency known as Science and Energy Engineering Research Board, or we can call it as the SERB, Science and Engineering Research Board. So its job is to fund startups. So this again will be housed into the National Research Foundation. And this National Research Foundation is modeled on the USA's National Science Foundation. Fine, so it mimics this. Now we should look at it. So this was a bit of prelims. And besides this, actually, there is one more thing that has to be mentioned. What would be the governing structure of the NRF? Who all people will manage this foundation? So all that. So the NRF will comprise of a 16-member governing body, which will comprise of 2 members from the Department of Science and Technology, 5 members from industry, 1 from humanities. So this National Research Foundation is actually not limiting to just scientific activities, but it will also dwell with social sciences. So this will promote research not just in natural sciences and engineering, but also social sciences, arts and humanities. Okay, so we have 2 members from Department of Science, 5 from industry, 1 from humanities, and 6 experts would be selected on the nature of the project being evaluated. So these are the members of the governing body. And this NRF, National Research Foundation's governing body, the Prime Minister will be the ex officio president of this board. Fine. So at the top would be the Prime Minister. He's the ex officio president of the board. That is, by virtue of being the Prime Minister, he will be the president of this board. Okay. So this was about prelims actually. Now coming to the mains point of view. See, we are seeing that the government is focusing on funding for research and development activities. So let us look at this topic from the view of GS3, which covers science and tech. So we have an issue when we talk about spend on research and development. We have an issue of low spend. We are spending less money that is required on research and development. And spending on research and development is very, very crucial for the progress of any country. In fact, the research and development, the progress over here, provides the country an edge. For instance, I'll give you an example from the present news itself. From US, we want technology for jet engines, right? So for Tejas, we were looking at getting this tech engine, jet engine technology. So we need it. We need this technology, but now the US will be providing us, and there will be some sort of a compromise we have made, not yet mentioned. Likewise, India, the Southeast Asian countries want to engage with India because India has the BrahMos missile technology. Likewise, India has an expertise in digital India infrastructure. So this provides that country a competitive edge. Likewise, not just in defense technology, what about the healthcare setup? If there is a disease or whatever, the US is one of the first countries that comes up with medication. So India also has to look into the issue of the population problems that are there, and it requires the support and the technological know-how from the developed countries. And somewhere it compromises our interests. So the technology, the spend in research and development is very, very important, and we need to move forward on this. Now, when we talk about the spending over here, India spends 0.7% of its GDP on research and development. So only 0.7% of its GDP, whereas other countries spend much more. The US spends 2.83%. China spends 2.14%. So they are spending more. In fact, Israel is spending about 5%. And Israel is such a small country, but because of its technological know-how, they are progressing. You can see all the advantages that Israel has at the moment. Fine. So we are very low. So when you say that our spend is gross expenditure on research and development, GERD, is 0.7% of the GDP, it doesn't have much weight. But when you say that in comparison to US, China, Israel, Brazil, whichever country you say, our expense is very, very low. The budget on this is very low. And further, besides the government contributing on this thing, even the industry spending on the research and development, that too is very, very less. So we need to push the private sector and industry on research and developmental activities. Okay. So that is there. Besides this, one more issue. So first issue was low spend. Then part of this would be low participation or engagement of the industry. Besides this, we do not see uniformity in spends. We do not see uniformity in the funding that is there. We see the share of funding is moving towards IITs or the elite institutions. It is moving towards elite institutions, tier 1 cities, big cities. It is going over there. They are getting the bulk of funding, while the smaller institutions are not getting that. So idea of NRF will also help in democratization of science funding. Please use this expression, democratization of science funding. So it will try to ensure that there is uniformity in funding, not just elite institutions, but other institutions based on merit, they also get funding. So that is there. And funding is again not limited to hard science, but it is also to social sciences, arts and humanities. They also get their due. And the share of funding should also go to smaller cities, tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So that is the NRF. So I've done this This is the PIB on the same analysis. Here we have data on India's gross expenditure, but fortunately we get it in the news also today. Then more data, actually, number of researchers per million population. So more data we have over here, right? So this, I think we can share, or you can easily find it on the net also. So let me know. Yes. So bit lot more in research actually goes, but today we have it over here. And one more thing, the NRF was also proposed in the new education policy. So this was all about the NRF. Now moving forward, within the same headline, we have another news. Government clears rupees 3.7 lakh crore agri package urea subsidy to stay until March 2025. So what all things are there in the agri package? This is important. So one is obviously urea subsidy scheme, and other is the PM Pranam scheme. So there is another scheme, PM Pranam scheme, which was announced by the finance minister in the recent budget announced in February. So let us refer to the PIB for this because we don't have much information here. So yeah. So this is a PIB that I got. This is concerning the initiatives that the government is taking for sustainability. So you can see green hydrogen mission, energy transition, storage projects, green credit program. So here we have these 3 initiatives. And yeah, so these should be the part of your agri package also. What is now PM Pranam? PM Pranam is Prime Minister Program for Restoration, Awareness, Nourishment and Amelioration of Mother Earth. We don't get much from the name as such. So this is about incentivizing states and union territories to promote, the main thing is promote alternate fertilizers and balanced use of chemical fertilizers. So there are 2 things, alternative fertilizers and balanced use of chemical fertilizers. So when we say alternative fertilizers, it means non-chemical fertilizers. So it's about organic farming, using organic based fertilizers. Right, so that should be the main theme over here. And see, amelioration of Mother Earth, what damage has taken place because of wrong usage of chemical fertilizers. When we look at chemical fertilizers, again, there is more share of nitrogen that is being used than it is prescribed. So NPK fertilizers are there. So nitrogen is being used more because there is urea subsidy. Urea is the source for nitrogen. So we want balanced use of chemical fertilizers. So what I've read is more of, I didn't get much on this thing, but what I get is more of organic farming. Now with PM Pranam, if you read, you will find reference of the Gobardhan scheme. This is not a very new scheme, Gobardhan scheme. That is waste to wealth. It is about, again, from the waste that is there, plant waste, residual waste. So decomposing them and then using it as fertilizers or using it for the biogas also. So that is the Gobardhan scheme. Now, moving forward, let us do this news first and then we'll come to the Chandrayaan news. Very briefly, decision put on hold, credit card use abroad not to attract TCS. That is tax collected at source. So which decision is being put on hold? The decision when somebody uses credit card abroad in a foreign country, they will not attract TCS. There was a bit of a criticism on this. So this decision has been put on hold and it seems it is in the cold storage. That is, they will not talk much about this now. Okay. So what is this issue basically? So some time back, the government announced that as part of its liberalized remittances scheme, liberalized remittances scheme means Indians can send money abroad, or they can send remittances abroad. So for medication, for education of their child, let's say somebody has sent their child for Canada or whichever country, or has gone for a medical procedure, right? Or for whatever reason, the Indians are sending money abroad. So they can spend this, they can send their money abroad by using the scheme known as liberalized remittances scheme. That is, it allows the Indians to send their money with ease abroad. Now the government said that from now on there will be a tax collection at source. There will be tax collected, that is about 20% on money being sent. Then there was a bit of a criticism because a lot of people were affected, and so they said, okay, fine, for people who send 7 lakhs and less than that, they will not be taxed. More than this will be taxed, right? So for them, the TCS will be collected. So that decision was made. Then for credit card spend, if somebody is going abroad for travel and they want to shop or whatever, they use their credit card. So for that, money will be deducted. But again, here the 7 lakh thing was there, that it should be only when they have spent money above 7 lakh rupees. So there was a problem with the banks in implementing this because they have to verify if they have spent 7 lakhs or not. So banks were not able to bring the system in place by the deadline. So the deadline was coming, so they were not able to reach it. So now the government has put this decision on hold. Now we come to this Chandrayaan 3. So Chandrayaan, as the names goes, Chandra means moon, Yaan means vehicle. So Chandrayaan 3 will take off on July 13th and landing moves in August. So what is this Chandrayaan 3 all about? So Chandrayaan 3, as this suffix 3 shows over here, is a planned third lunar exploration mission by the ISRO. Right, so this is the third mission. And the idea of this Chandrayaan 3 is that they want to send this, they want to send their vehicle to the moon, and they want to land on the surface of the moon. So they want to land over here. The landing will take place, and a rover like this, a rover will be dispatched. So it will do scientific exploration, etc. So the rover will be done. So it is a lander and rover mission. That is, the satellite, whatever is there, it will be landed on the surface of the moon. So first step is landing safely without the rover getting destroyed. So safe landing should take place, and then the rover should be dispatched. So this is the mission, and the challenge is this only, to launch the lander and rover mission. So that is the main problem, having a safe landing. The Chandrayaan 2 was not able to do that. There was a crash landing took place. So Chandrayaan 3 wants to correct this. And we need to master this technology if we want to send our astronauts to space missions and all those things. So for that, again, lander and rover thing complements it. Okay. Now we have something from Manipur. Now, because of the crisis in Manipur, all the bloodshed that is taking place, many people from Manipur, about 12,000, have crossed over to the neighboring state, Mizoram. Now, because of this, there is a huge burden on the resources of Mizoram. Right? So it has affected their ability. The Manipur people will settle in Mizoram. They will look to bring them into school education. So it will put pressure on the education system, healthcare system, food supplies. So all of this will get affected. And besides this, the budget will also get affected. So the state of Mizoram is seeking budgetary support and help in dealing with this crisis. Okay. After 12 years, the UN drops India from its report on children and conflict. So United States Secretary General has taken India off a list of countries mentioned in report on children and armed conflict. So this was with reference to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, where there is allegation of recruitment of boys, underage boys by armed groups, militant groups, and their detention, killing, and maiming by the security forces. Fine. So children being affected because of the armed conflict that is taking place, them being recruited in the first place, and then security forces also detaining them or engaging in unlawful killing. So all that. So India has been removed from this list. In this list, all the infamous countries like Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Lake Chad Basin, Pakistan, Nigeria. So these countries were there. Okay, we move forward. Yeah, so this was about the NRF that was covered in the second page. Now we have bad loans. This was in the front page, but I will continue from here. So bad loans, you understand what is bad loans? Bad loans, non-performing assets. Bad loans are when banks lend money. They give out money to a borrower, and the borrower is not able to return this money. They are not able to pay EMIs in terms of interest as well as the principal amount. So that is a bad loan. That is, the loan has gotten bad. They are not able to, the bank is not able to retrieve the money. Okay. So naturally, if the bank lends money and it is not able to get back the interest and principal amount, this is not good for the bank, and it affects us public also, because our money at the end of the day is in the banks. So the government, the Reserve Bank of India, are naturally concerned about it. And the problem of bad loan was very, very severe, especially in the years 2015, 2016. We had a lot more articles on it. Okay. Now, a lot of things had been done to correct this. Now, the Reserve Bank of India, why are we talking about it? Every year they release a report known as Financial Stability Report. By the way, this question was asked in prelims. Financial Stability Report is released by which agency? Okay. So obviously they are looking at financial stability, and banks are a key part of this. So according to this, the bad loans, the incidence of bad loans and NPAs have come down. Right. And how do they know? They know by means of stress test. So the Reserve Bank of India from time to time conducts stress tests. So this covers checking credit risk, interest rate risk, liquidity risk, resilience of commercial banks in response to the shocks, all that. Now, what are the reasons they are saying responsible for the fall in the bad loans? So they are saying high loan growth rate, more money is being dispatched, high loan growth rate, then decline in slippages. So slippages means ability, the borrowers are not defaulting or slipping on their commitment to give to the bank, return money to the bank. So decline in the slippages, these terms are important. Okay. Better recoveries, bank are able to recover, and write-offs of bad loans. So if there is a bad loan, the bank is writing it off. So when they're writing it off, obviously the bad loan will come down because it has been written off. So these are the factors responsible for this. So the same thing is actually repeated over here as well, right? So same things are repeated. So I'm just covering the highlighted portion over here. So we can scroll out, zoom out now. So let's go further. Let's see what all things are there very quickly. So here. So it's just you have an idea about the news that was there. food prices are at record high, particularly tomato prices. So they are saying that onion prices are still at rupees 30 per kg, the vegetable vendors, but tomatoes are very badly affected. They are at rupees 80 to rupees 100 kg. So because of some supply side constraints, the food prices, especially of the vegetable tomato, is very, very high. Now coming to the explained section. And over here, the main news that I have actually is this term greedflation that we have to see. So this is the main topic. And other than that, we are covering this one, greedflation, and the last one on malaria. So that we are going to see one by one. So over here, we have an explained on how the formal people from the formal sector, they can apply for high pension under the employee pension scheme. So we are not interested with this, the mechanism. If you are this is this thing beneficiaries, then you must look into it. But we are not concerned. Okay, we are concerned with this background that we get because this can provide us inputs for our pre-examination. Okay, so what it is basically saying. So in the formal sector, like if you have worked as an employee, you would have noticed that a part of your salary is deducted. Actually, 12% of your salary. This includes your basic salary, dearance allowance, retaining allowance, whatever. So 12% of your salary is deducted. So this is required by law. And this entire component of your salary, the employee salary, goes to the EPF, Employee Provident Fund. Fine. By law, the employer, the person who is employed, so the employer is also required to contribute an equal share, that is 12%. Equal share has to be done. And of this, 3.67%, the breakup of this 12%, 3.67% goes to the Employee Provident Fund and 8.33% goes to the Employee Pension Scheme. Fine, so this is required by the law. Okay, and if somebody's salary is below the wage threshold, if somebody's salary is below the wage threshold, which is rupees 15,000, then in that case, the government contributes 1.16% of an employee's pension. Employees do not contribute to the pension scheme. And so the wage is the minimum wage threshold below is 15,000 rupees. And this we get from here. Now, when we talk about EPF, EPS, etc., all of this is managed by the EPFO. And EPFO comes under the Ministry of Labor. Right? So they are responsible for it. In fact, this also has been asked in the pre-paper. Now coming to understanding of greedflation. So greedflation, as you can see, it is synonymous with inflation. So I'll explain this very simply. I'll put it simply. It's inflation. And what is inflation? The rate of increase in prices. So rate of increase in prices. So that is inflation. Okay. Now the reasons for inflation. There are two reasons for inflation. So one is, there are more actually. So one is the input cost rises. The input cost rises. For example, crude price increases, commodity prices increases. So the input prices increasing and naturally the prices will also increase. The price of the final product will also increase. Then the other is when there is more pull demand. That is, people are demanding more. People have more money and they want to spend more. So in that case also the prices increase. There is one more issue not mentioned here. There is one more issue, that is supply side constraints. When there is not adequate supply, then also people are willing to pay more, and this is related to demand also. So you saw the tomato prices increasing. So most likely this is because of supply side constraints. So supply is less, therefore, but demand is intact, so people are willing to pay more for tomatoes. So these are the three main reasons for inflation to be there. So input cost, pull demand, and supply dynamics. So these are the factors. Now we are seeing a very interesting trend these days, that is greedflation. This is that inflation is rising neither because of rise in input cost or demand is as it is, but yet the inflation is increasing. This is because the corporates, the companies, they are artificially keeping the prices high. They are keeping the prices high to have greater profit. Input cost has not increased, right? But the prices have increased. So the corporates are doing this to maximize profit. We do not see increase in wages, the salaries of employees, and even without the higher interest rates, the inflation is actually high. So not just the input cost, but also the labor cost, that is also not increasing. In fact, we hear about unemployment rate increasing, right? So this thing, greedflation, when the corporates become greedy and they are selling at a premium, or the markup, that is markup is cost price, the cost of making, plus profit that you set for yourself. So now why do we say this? We say this because we do not see any other reason. The wage increases is not taking place. There is low wage increase, because normally if wage increases, this increases because wage increases, people have more money and they spend more, so there will be more inflation. So we do not see these reasons. Rather, we are having some facts which suggest that despite all this, the profitability of the companies are increasing, not just in the world, but also in India. So we have some data from Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE. This is not a government agency, right? So this is not for profit organization. So they say that profitability is at record high since the pandemic. More than 3.5, the facts are given from March 2023 quarter. It has increased more than 3.5 times the average net profit. So 3.5 times it has increased. In the 9 quarters from December 17 to December 2019. Okay, so we're talking about 2023. So it is saying that the profit has increased 3.5 times as compared to pre-pandemic time of 2017-19. So that is a better indication, because the long-term average is being taken. So 3.5 times it has increased. And during this time, we had the pandemic, the lockdown and everything. It hampered the economy like anything. But yes, the companies are becoming profitable. And that would be because the companies are pushing for higher profit margins. So higher sales, higher profit margins, and combinations of higher sales and higher profit margins. Naturally, profit of a company comes when they sell more and when they have higher prices, right? So it could be either of more sales or more of uh, profit being marked. So here we feel it is more of this case. So this is greedflation. Now what should be done about this situation? So in some of the policy measures that have been recommended, it suggests that the corporates should not be allowed to take advantage of such situation, and there should be a temporary tax, temporary excess profit tax mentioned over here. Further, there should be some sort of a oversight, or there should be some sort of a law that should be made that bars the companies from price gouging. Price gouging. Gouging. So this can be done. We can also talk about a regulatory framework which looks into this. Right. So these are certain things. When GST came, when the GST had come, that time again, the prices had gone up, and when the GST rates were brought down, the companies kept the high prices intact. So prices increased because of addition of the GST. GST was more, but when the GST was brought down, the price levels were still the same. So this is one example of greedflation. Now I think all of us experienced during that time. Okay. Now we move to malaria. So in US, there were only 5 cases of malaria, but the US Center for Disease Control issued an alert. Something I think we should also do in India. We take a lot of time. First, we are in denial. Okay, so we should do this. But that's not what we are talking about. We're talking about malaria over here. So the reason is that we have 5 in US. There is 5 cases. US, this was more or less removed. The local transmission had gone away, but again we see the emergence of malaria over here. Now more on malaria from point of view. Malaria is caused by the bite of an infected Anopheles mosquito. Anopheles mosquito. And this disease is parasitic in nature. It is caused by a parasite. So there are many parasites or plasmodiums. There are 5 plasmodiums that cause this malaria disease. So this Anopheles mosquito is a vector. It is carrying this plasmodium, which is transmitted into the person who gets bitten. Okay. So there are 5 types basically. So P. falciparum, P. vivax, malaria, oval, and knowlesi. So of this, in US, Plasmodium vivax has been identified. And in the case of India, we have P. vivax infections, which is difficult to treat. Now, where does India stand when we talk about the issue of malaria? So overall, we have seen a decline. So from 2015 to 2022, we see a decline in the cases of malaria. So 85.1% decline in malaria cases and 83.36 decline in deaths from malaria. And if you look at the world burden, so we are at 1.7% of the malaria cases in the world and 1.2% deaths because of malaria in the world. But world data doesn't make sense because malaria is a tropical disease, right? Mosquito-borne disease. Tropical countries are more affected. So it's not a very good indicator. If we look at data from Southeast Asian countries, Southeast Asia, where malaria is more, India accounts for 79% of the malaria cases and 83% of the deaths. So this is from the WHO Southeast Asia region. Okay. And one more thing, this Anopheles mosquito, they are very, very sensitive to temperature. So we can see the malaria can be transmitted and may go down. So there is a high burden in states like Odisha. In the number of months when malaria can be transmitted may go down when the temperature goes up or down. While in foothills like Himachal, etc., where temperature is stable, the malaria is also there for a longer time. Now I think we move. Okay, we have this government and politics news, and then we'll move to this editorial and opinion page. So first one is Congress questions the high cost of US drone deal. So remember the armed drones that we discussed during the US visit? So we're talking about the MQ-9 drone. So this drone is an armed drone, right? It can fire missiles. So the cost of drone that India is likely to pay is $110 per million. So I'll write it again, it's not clear. 110 million per drone. So obviously it is very, very expensive. Now, even the other countries who were interested in buying, like Australia. So Australia was pitched at $137.58 for one MQ-9 drone, more than what we have been pitched. And they decided to back out because it is very expensive. Spain bought these drones for 46.75, but this is Reaper MQ-9 drone, but MQ-9 is there. So this is at 46.7, so half the price. Likewise for Taiwan also 54 million per drone. So for India, it seems it is much more expensive. So the Congress is rightfully pointing it out. So there is a political slugfest. There is a political this thing between them, that corruption is in opposition parties' DNA, like that. So that is going on. So they are saying that, okay, fine, this is there. Why didn't we have discussion on this? Why didn't the Cabinet Committee on Security discuss it? You can do one thing for prelims, Cabinet Committee on Security, who all are the members of this, which all ministers are members of this Cabinet Committee on Security. Next, more of prelims actually. PM Modi chairs Pragati meet to expedite infra project. So, yeah. So during the NDA government time, actually much before this, but yeah. So there is a scheme there is an initiative that was launched known as Pragati. So we don't have to refer to PIB today because we have information over here. That is proactive governance and timely implementation. Proactive governance and timely implementation. So in this, I'm referring the PIB now. In this, this is a platform whereby the Prime Minister, his officials, PMO, so PM plus PMO plus secretaries of the concerned departments or concerned ministries, union secretaries, plus chief secretary of a particular state. They sit together, right? Using audio visual means, they sit together and they review infrastructure projects. So Prime Minister gets a live feed about what is happening, plus it is backed by geographical GIS system, right? So this is the Pragati model. It is based on the high-end technology. It is devised by the NDA government to speed up project implementation, bringing states and central ministries on a platform to resolve outstanding issues of infrastructure. And this includes PMO, secretaries of concerned ministries like health, railways, whosoever's infra is being discussed, plus chief secretary of the concerned states. So this is there. I think GIS stands for Geographical Information System. Okay. So 12 projects from different ministries were reviewed. So this was Health Ministry. For Health Ministry, it was mainly about the AIIMS hospitals in different states. So again, for that, we need the Health Secretary and the Chief Secretary of the concerned state. Likewise, for railways, road transport, steel, petroleum, and natural gas. So all these ministries, the 12 projects were reviewed under the Pragati program. Besides this, Prime Minister also reviewed the performance of PM Swanidhi Yojana. That is, it is a scheme that provides funding, Swanidhi, so self, Nidhi means money. So money to the street vendors, providing them support over here. So he was looking into the review, how it is performing and how to bring more eligible street vendors under this scheme. Okay, CGI calls for tech use for better justice delivery. So we can look at it from JS2 point of view. judiciary governance, so this one, and the technology initiatives or ICT for dispensation of judicial cases, how judiciary can be aided by the information communication technologies, what measures, what initiatives are being taken, like e-courts, etc. So these can be looked into it. Next, we have Karnataka. Karnataka had promised 5 kg of rice as its poll promise, but it is not able to procure rice from the Food Corporation of India. So instead, they are providing money into the accounts of the people. So they are transferring cash, about rupees 34 per kg of rice, by means of direct benefit transfer. So this is being done. Now, other than this, the Karnataka, when the election took place, they made this pre-poll guarantees. So this included the following schemes: Shakti scheme, which is free travel in state buses to women; Anna Bhagya, that is, so Anna means food; Gruha Lakshmi scheme, that is rupees 2000 per month for women head of a family; and Yuva Nidhi scheme, that is those who are unemployed, the youth, they will get unemployment allowance for graduates and diploma holders. These two schemes seem to be a step. We are talking about allowance or money being given for being if somebody is unemployed, or women getting money. Money is being given to the hands of the woman. It seems like a step in the direction of universal basic income. So the concept of universal basic income, which was reviewed in one of the economic surveys. So former chief economic advisor had came up with this idea. We did a lot of answer writing during our preparation times. So this is partially moving towards this scheme, universal basic income. Here it is only for certain households, but yeah. Now one more thing you have to notice in the Gruha Lakshmi scheme, the woman in the household is being paid money. Why not men? What is the reason for this? What are the benefits of giving money into the hands of women? So this is something that you need to think. Next, we have Indian Air Force, which plans biggest air exercise, forces from 12 nations to attend. So this exercise is known as Tarang Shakti. So forces from 12 nations are there, but it is not confirmed. So this will most likely include France, Australia, US, UK. So these are some of the countries that may participate. Location is not known. All we know is different air assets like fighter aircrafts, transport aircrafts, etc. would be utilized. And this will be in October, November. So by then we'll have a lot more clarity. So this is what India is organizing, Tarang Shakti. Now, India has also participated, Indian Air Force, in other exercises. So it is exercise Orion. So this was organized in France. So from point of view, France. Then there was an air exercise, joint exercise by the US Air Force. This was known as, it's a joint exercise between India and the US Air Force. And this is known as Kope India 2023. So this was across Kalaikunda, Panagarh and Agra. So this cannot be by the US. Okay, so yeah. We move forward on this thing. Now we come to the editorial and the opinion page. Now in today's editorial and the opinion section, we are covering this news very briefly because this is about the Uniform Civil Code. So we are doing this. Another news is about China, China's challenge to existing world order. So for the time being, not covering this because China thing will keep coming up. Then we are taking up this thing, the issues with, or the challenges with higher education systems, higher education institutions, and partnership for the future, India-Philippines relations. Enrique Manalo is Secretary of Foreign Affairs for Philippines. So we get a lot of good insights, direct insights about the state from here. So democracy is not our DNA. Again, I'm not doing this. And the hate sweeping India is changing its very demographic. Again, I'm not taking this up. BJP's Pasmanda outreach, again, something about political strategy. So that again, not taking this today. Not required also. Okay, first, let's look at the Uniform Civil Code. What is the editorial saying? So we all know what is Uniform Civil Code. We have these religions, many religions, Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, Christians, Parsis, many communities are there. They are governed by their own set of personal laws, traditional laws. So each religion is dictating how the community responds. And so now there's a proposal, very old proposal, that is coming from Article 44 of the DPSP also, that is about enactment of the Uniform Civil Code. That is, all these communities will have a uniform set of laws. Presently, they are dictated by their own personal laws. So there should be a uniform set of laws for all the communities, or there should be a uniform code. So that is the idea. So UCC is the idea that there should be a common set of personal laws that govern marriage, divorce, inheritance, and adoption. So it's only talking about these subject matters over here across religious communities. Now, naturally, this is problematic, right? Because people of their respective communities will not like the change over here. So it is a thorny issue. It is a difficult issue. So we need it. It will be good, but it is a thorny issue. So for this, we need to engage with people of different sections. So we need a deliberative approach. We need a deliberative space. So we need to engage with the people and not just pass a law. We should engage with different stakeholders over here, because it touches all citizens. It touches all citizens, and the things that it is covering, it reaches deep inside their ways of life for generations and their personal spaces. So for this, we need the process of persuasion and negotiation before going forward, rather than taking blunt positions. So that should not take place. We should have persuasion, negotiation, discussions before going forward with this Uniform Civil Code. So that's what it is saying. And further, it is telling us about the viewpoint of Law Commission, 21st Law Commission, where it said that Uniform Civil Code is neither desirable nor necessary. So it is saying that we should simply focus on reforming the personal laws of each of the religions individually. While the 22nd Law Commission is talking about, it's again reviewing this, because this exercise had taken place in 2018, 21st Law Commission. So it says that considerable time has gone by. So they are reviewing this, and they have given a time of 1 month to seek feedback from different stakeholders. Conventionally speaking, the time of 1 month is less. Okay. Next, we have breaking through. This is about Indian institutes higher learning getting mentioned in the QS rankings. So it's a good thing that they are mentioned, but we should not detract from challenges, the problems that are there. So today itself, we did talk about the National Research Foundation, right? And we had some points about the problems associated with institutions of higher learning. So what are these problems? So first of all, it is about poor learning outcomes, poor skill sets. There is a gap between what the industry wants and what the colleges are providing. So it is, a number of surveys have suggested that only 1 in 5 engineering graduates have the required skills for the job market. So you have a fact on the learning outcomes which you can use. Okay. Then the budget the budget constraints of Indian universities. So here I have only for research actually. So it is 0.7% for the GDP. So overall, we have budgetary constraints of Indian universities. It is much lower when we compare it with other world countries. Then on research and development scaling also, we are not doing as well. The patents that are being filed, the spend that is being done, that is very, very less. So that needs to go up. And the funding that we are getting, so the limited funding that we are getting of this also, most of it is directed towards the elite institutes. Recently, we heard about Nandan Nilekani. He is from IIT Bombay, so he is giving back to his college 350 crores. He says that because of the college I have gotten, so I'm giving rupees 350 crores. Imagine the amount of money. So even the industry leaders, etc., they favor the elite institutes. So the small cities, towns do not get the benefit. So these are some of the issues with institutes of higher learning. So these are the challenges which needs to be addressed. Now coming to partnership for the future. This is about the potential of India-Philippines relations. Yeah. Now before moving forward, we should know the context of India-Philippines. So this is India on the map. This is Indo-Asia region, Indo-China region, and then China. There is China, and there are these Southeast Asian countries, archipelago, and at the tip is Philippines. Now these countries overall are concerned with China, and because China is being very, very assertive, plus they claim the whole of South China Sea as theirs. It's fine. So this is the South China Sea. So they want a counterforce over here, and India is the most reasonable of the options that they have. So they want greater engagement with India, particularly with reference to the politics, the diplomacy of this region, the Indo-Pacific region. Now we have heard about Quad Group, etc. also, so that is also concerning this region. Okay, so let's move forward. So that is the basic thing. India wants a foothold in the Southeast Asia as part of its extended neighborhood policy. Philippines is also interested, and likewise many other Southeast Asian countries. Now, what is in store for India-Philippines relations? So first of all, it is saying that India has a high economic trajectory. Amongst the large countries, it is the fastest growing economy at 5.5% amongst the large countries. So that is first part. So economic is doing well. Philippines is on the threshold of achieving the upper middle income status. So saying that we are aligned economy wise, both are doing well, and we can work together on this front. We can engage in trade and economic cooperation, in innovation, new technologies, and clean energy for supporting our goal. So both can work together. In fact, here it is more of India giving them. India has done well in renewable energy. So us helping them in moving towards the renewable energy, particularly the solar energy. Then we have digital India in a country. So we can help Philippines in transforming into a digital economy and help build their digital infrastructure. Further, with reference to space, Philippines wants to have their competence in the space sector, and India is well known for its prowess in low-cost space missions. So they seek support, especially on the technology side, from India, ISRO. Besides this, they want capital, money, so both can invest in each other's economy. And lastly, they're talking about BrahMos. So BrahMos is a missile, supersonic missile that was developed by India and Russia. So this India has it. So Philippines wants access to this technology. So Philippines getting it. Where will they use the BrahMos missile? It's a high-tech missile. It will be used as a defense against the Chinese. So India will be keen to supply this missile also. So you see India's BrahMos shore-based anti-ship missile. So this was about India-Philippines relations. Now we move forward. Coming to the international section, I want to go a bit faster now. And I'm pretty sure we have exceeded a lot of time. Okay, so Titan debris is found. Then Canada announces new work permit for 10,000 H-1B visa holders in US. Okay. Russian general knew about Wagner chiefs. Fine. I don't think these are important in our context over here. So let's move forward. Let's see the economy section. And here again, we don't really have much. So here there's something about SEBI. SEBI is the regulator for stock market, and it is a statutory body. So SEBI has reduced the IPO time. So earlier it was T plus 6 days. Now it is T plus 3 days. So the time limit has come down for IPO listing. Now I hope what is IPO, initial public offer. So these are basically companies who want to raise capital from the public or the share market. So public has invested in shares. So to do that, they have to list in the stock market. And to list in the stock market, they issue initial public offer. Fine. So that is IPO. So the time to list has come down over here. Further, the SEBI tightens disclosure norms for FPI, foreign portfolio investments. Benchmark indices, Sensex touches all-time high, Sensex Nifty. Then institutional investment in reality is up. Reality sector is having more and more of institutional investment. So this is going up. So let's see what happens because of this. States undertaking power reforms can borrow rupees 1.4 lakh crore extra in fiscal year 2024. I think the larger issue over here is the issue with the power distribution companies, the issue with the DISCOMs. So state electricity boards, etc., they are reeling under losses. They distribute power. So they are called as DISCOMs. So there is a company like NTPC, etc., which generate electricity. Then it is to be supplied to the end consumer. So this work is done by the DISCOMs, and normally it is by the state electricity departments or boards. So these DISCOMs are reeling under financial losses because of theft, because of subsidy. So if they undertake power reforms, and for this there is a scheme known as Uday. So if they undertake power reforms, they can borrow additional 1.4 lakh crore rupees. You can watch my video on Uday in that I have explained the entire issue in great detail. So this you can watch and it will be helpful. So India's growth rate likely to be at 6.7% till fiscal year 2027 on account of domestic consumption. Right. So this is it from today's news analysis. So thank you for streaming into our channel, IASPrimers, with me, Shubhashish. Bye-bye and all the best.